Welcome 2021. Welcome back everyone. You made it. You were able to survive 2020 despite all odds, and you're here. And I want to start off on the right foot. We are still officially in New Year's resolution period. So I want to give you a token. So today's video is called 5 reasons that should get your nutritionist or dietitian fired. Reason number 1, or statement number 1, just eat less and move more. Right. Ask Michelle Obama how that works out. Okay, so she tried this initiative in the US and it did not work out at all. So this is the reason why. You cannot fix with fitness a problem that you cause with nutrition. In other words, trying to mechanically burn the excess calories that you have consumed that have turned into fat is not an efficient way for several reasons. Number 1 is you are not a tea kettle. And that's going to lead me to the second statement. So the first law of thermodynamics does not work for that. And the sad reason is because there are way too many variables out there that you need to take into account for you to not only, you don't want to burn the calories necessarily. What you want to burn is the fat that you have put on from your nutrition. So eating less and moving more is not a very efficient way of going about it. And if you want proof for that, all you have to do is remember last year, between January and March, all the treadmills were full. Look at those people today and tell me if they are any better off. Basically trying to mechanically burn the calories that you have consumed in hopes to that calorie burning leading to fat burning is not efficient, just because your body will selectively burn different types of fuel. So if you don't favor the fuel that you want to use, as in burning fat, it just doesn't work. Number 2, just mind your calories. As I said before, too many people still today keep preaching the first law of thermodynamics, as in energy in, energy out, or calories in, calories out. And if you consume more calories than you burn, you're going to gain fat. And if you consume less calories than you burn, then you're going to lose weight. Unfortunately, if you think about the way our body works, which is there's this thing called the total daily energy expenditure, your body will allocate the energy, which is what people call the calories. The energy will allocate it to different variables or functions throughout the day. That's number 1. Number 2, you have to be mindful of number 1. Your body will selectively use the type of fuel that is being favored in your diet, all right, which is mostly carbs for most people. And that's the first thing that it's going to burn off. Your fat is going to be stored for a later emergency. It's not going to be used to, be broken down for energy, unless you know what you're doing, unless you're favoring that fat metabolism through, you guessed it, nutrition again. Number 3, just eat more fruits than vegetables. That's a good one. I get it. So if you're trying to favor eating real foods as opposed to eating real unpackaged and processed foods as opposed to eating packaged foods and whatnot, that's actually going to lead me to number 4. So it's a good reason. But once again, you cannot, remember, you're not a tea kettle. It's not about calories in, calories out. All right. Macros, yes. Now, if you're thinking of macros and you decided to eat more fruits and vegetables without any type of, parameters, think of this. You have half a cup, a quarter of a cup of grapes and 2 bananas in a day, and you're going to be having a whopping 50 grams or more of sugar in a day from your fruits alone. Now you add like the potatoes, people think, they qualify, yeah, they come from the ground, so yeah, they are vegetables. Sure, they are. But if you add some potatoes, some rice, some starchy vegetables and things like that to the equation, you can end up in one day with the allowance of sugar for a whole week. All right. And you repeat that, eat more fruits and vegetables without any type of, other parameters into account. And yes, you're going to be consuming a truckload of sugar, for example, plain simple sugar. And you may say, well, it's fructose. And fructose, if it's in the fruits, it must be good for you. Well, guess again. So the metabolism of fructose has a similar byproduct as the metabolism of alcohol, which is an aldehyde, which actually causes fatty liver. All right. So yes, fruits have minerals and they have some other, compounds that are good for you, but you do want to know which fruits, how much and how frequently you want to include. Number one. And number two is you cannot just, they're not interchangeable. You cannot have vegetable for fruit, fruits for vegetables. They are completely different. So what you want to do is you want to have low glycemic, low sugar fruits and vegetable, low starch, low, and those are the ones that you want to favor. Low calorie, but they're very dense in nutrients. So dense in nutrients, low in sugar, and low in what's called the glycemic load. All right. Number 4, just learn to read labels. Oh, come on. That kind of defeats the purpose of number 3, even though number 3 is not necessarily the best idea. It's a good way to start if you're someone that is actually going, to drive-thrus and, getting takeouts very, very frequently, or you're buying mostly boxes. I was horrified to see how many people were getting cart full of boxes and jugs at the grocery store thinking that is food. It's ridiculous. It's unhealthy. Now, just read the labels. Once again, I can understand the rationale behind that, because in theory, if you can discern, you can tell that the packaged food that you are aiming for has, little chemicals, you should be better off. However, always, the food industry is a step ahead of you. All right, they're always. And they have misleading labels just to get you there. So they have 100% cane sugar, organic, USDA certified organic. They have low calories. So low fat. That will take me to the next one. But they will have organic or plant-based or gluten-free. Oh, that's a big one. Gluten-free, as if that's the only thing that you need to be aware of. No sugar added. Once again, no sugar added means that it's packed full of naturally occurring sugars, but it's still sugar. All right. So the best way to go is to skip the packages as much as possible. If you have to use, for example, condiments to a certain extent, or spices and things like that, granted, you want to go for that. But you don't want to have I have a healthy whole grain, no sugar added, organic granola bar. Really? You still fall for that? Don't. Okay? So skip the aisles, go around the perimeter, just go through the aisles to get your whatever. If it's bottled water, don't mind the bottles, I guess, so the bottled water, your spices and things like that, I get it. If possible, go for the things that have one ingredient if you need them. Cinnamon, cumin. There you go. One. If you have salt and the salt has maltodextrin, for example, really? You're getting salt and the salt has a sugar as an anti-caking agent? That's bad. Skip it. Okay? Number 5. Remember, these are the 5 reasons or statements that should get your nutritionist, dietitian fired. Cut the fat so you lose the fat. What? It doesn't work like that. Remember, I've been saying it for 2 out of the 5. Your body will not burn fat just because you want to burn the fat. In other words, you cannot stuff your face with sugar and simple carbs and then expect your body to lose the fat just because you're killing your knees on the treadmill for 45 minutes. It does not work. You are going to burn calories. That's right. How many of us got those calories are going to be from fat? Very little. Yes, you're going to burn some, but it's going to be very little. Number 1. Number 2, in that regard, just cut the fat to lose fat. So the fact that you are gaining fat doesn't mean that it comes from fat. All right. So there is a mechanism in your body that allows every single nutrient to be stored as fat, not the fat. Ironically, the one macronutrient that spikes your insulin, which actually opens the door for your cells to be packed full of fat, the one that least excites your insulin levels is fat. Ironically, carbohydrates will spike your insulin levels because it's going to spike your blood glucose. Protein is going to spike as well to a lesser degree, okay, because it will raise your blood sugar. But since fat actually doesn't raise your blood sugar all that much, it actually does not prompt you to gain fat. All right. Of course, if you're doing too much of anything, your body will want to store it in the most efficient way, which is fat. All right. But you want to, you want to make sure that you eat fat because your fat is actually your brain and your bones and your bone marrow and your sexual reproductive organs need that. All right. So that's right. But the other thing is the fact that you are counting on the fat is not going to make you lose fat. What you have to do is you have to switch your eating habits accordingly so that you keep your blood sugar, therefore your insulin levels, low, and you can favor the fat loss. All right? Short and sweet. This is the first video of the year. And if you only follow not the statements, that's the ones that should get your nutritionist or your dietitian fired, but the counter, as in just eat less and move more, just eat right, and yes, do exercise, and your body will favor the fat loss. Just mind your calories, just mind your macros. What you eat is much more important than the number of calories that you're eating, okay? Number 3, remember, eat more fruits and vegetables. Yes, you want to eat natural foods, minimally processed foods, all right, as a recap, but you want to make sure that they are low glycemic fruits and vegetables and they're not interchangeable, okay? Remember that. Number 4, the flip side, as opposed to reading labels, you want to skip labels, okay? Skip them as much as possible. If you want to do some sort of like food prepping video, I will be happy to show you that in 15 minutes you make a full meal, like one main course with 2 sides, whatever. 15 minutes. It doesn't take you any more than that. You can do that for the whole week if you want. Number 5, just cut the fat. Forget it. So your body stores the excess energy as fat, and your high blood sugar levels are going to prompt your high insulin levels, and the high insulin levels are actually going to make you store fat. So if you don't revert that process, the fat will do very little. All right. So you want to switch, remember your macros, yes, and then you want to prime your body to lose fat, and it's not by not ingesting or eating fat. Okay, so I hope this was useful. Happy 2021. You will survive and thrive this year too.